How sun-dried tomatoes are made, Trina Foods. The tomato is a fruit, as we all know, because it is a plant seed-bearing portion. But did you realize that it is also a flowering plant? It is our favorite fruit in the United States. Each year, they produce more tomatoes than they do the previous year. It is no surprise that apples or even bananas are popular. Tomatoes are a lively, fresh flavor that we want to keep throughout the year in the form of tomatoes that have been dried out. It takes 20 pounds of sugar to make 1 pound of sugar to prepare 1 pound of fresh tomatoes. However, how precisely do they reduce down to these brune, plump, juicy tomatoes? The answers, like slices, can be obtained at where did the Trainer Foods come from in California? Between July and October, 300,000 pounds of every day, 5,000 60,000 tomatoes arrive. For every pound of fresh tomatoes, they arrive by truckload and proceed to the elevator, where they will be rinsed with a hose. These are Roma tomatoes that have been sprayed with chlorine. They are also known as plum tomatoes, owing to their oblong shape. Romaine lettuce has more pulp and less water. Tomatoes are ground rather than whole, which gives them a unique flavor. Good for dry but only fully ripe fruits. Fresh tomatoes also make the cut, so after the tomatoes have been washed, they are delivered through a computer-assisted sorting system known as remove any broken or unripe fruit, as well as the tomatoes that have made it past the sorting machine are fed onto an internal automated cutter. The mechanism through which tomatoes are fed blade that rotates in a circle and cuts each tomato, cut in half. The machine has a cutting capacity of 8 to 9 slices per minute. Then it is pounds of tomatoes per second. To a machine that is only used for tomatoes. In order to draw a cup or upper, in order to draw a cup or upper, in order to draw a cup, the tomato must be properly cured before it can be used. Face down on the tray with the top upper. This is accomplished by vibrating the product, placing it in troughs and laying it out with drying trayed nicely onto the red. When the tomatoes are ripe, they dry out faster. Face up because they have lost all of their moisture. Workers who have been exposed should double-check everything. Then each slice is facing the correct way. The tomato trays are layered one on top of the other, and then forklifted away to the tomatoes are being cured in a shed, like if you were smoking meat in a smoker. The tomatoes are treated inside the shed overnight with sulfur, a natural substance, a preservative that seals in all of the nutrients, fresh flavor, color, and nutrients. The trays are tomato the next morning. It is sunny in California, and it's a breathtaking sight. Thousands of trays, a total of 12 acres of tomatoes, and this is where sun-dried tomatoes come into their own. The sun gradually acquired their name, dries out the water in the tomatoes, leaving the remainder of the tomato delicacy. You will notice a tray like this behind you. That is almost correct, and you have got a tray there. That is a couple of days off on top of it. The difference is that this tray has been here for a while. This tray had just been there for 5 or 6 days. It takes a day or two to set up if it was placed out a day or two ago. Approximately 5 to 7 days. Depending on the type of tomato, it can take anything from a few hours to a few. The sun's intensity. Much of it is based on our own personal experience. When the tomatoes are ready, the team knows. When the tomatoes are ready, get ready to take off. Exactly right, the trays have been gathered and employees with scrapers fed into a scraper. The use of hand tools ensures that every last tomato is harvested, is scraped as far away from the tray as possible. As you can see, the tomatoes have been bounced around a much on the vibratory scale, firmly up and down. A machine to get rid of things we do not want. Random samples are delivered to them if they desire to be in there. The lab tests are done to see whether there is anything wrong. Moisture and bacterial scoffer content. The dried tomatoes are then preserved in the refrigerator. Until they are ordered, they are kept in storage. We can work with restaurants or food factories. Regardless of how you dice the tomatoes, keep an eye on the situation. Tomatoes that have been dried can be stored in the refrigerator. Before they are packaged, they can sit for up to a year. They have been mailed out, and they are nearly £1 each. They have spent 95% less than they did when they first started. The sun, on the other hand, merely removes their skin. All of the flavor and nourishment is in the water. The same as a freshly plucked tomato. The grapevine. You.